Hey guys, today on the Atomic Bomb we're going over my strategy for the Empire of Japan. Now Japan has a really unique position in this game. They're the largest naval power in this game, and so what they really have to do is they just have to dominate the Pacific navally. They're not really a land power, so all they have to do is just destroy America's Anzacs and the Far East Command's navy, and then they win. And then I guess the one torpedo boat that the Chinese have. So they gotta destroy all that navy, and then they should win in the Pacific. And if you play Germany and then you go play Japan, you're like, oh, holy shit, we have a navy. This is weird. Because it is an interesting change of pace to have a navy now, whereas before with all these other powers you're just kind of fighting in a land war. So let's go into the Japanese papers here. So they start off with 16 IPP in income, which is actually a really strong starting income. And they get 3 IPP bonus for being at peace with China, and that's reduced by 1 each time they attack China, but don't worry about that. I mean, you're going to attack China 3 times anyway. It's not worth holding off an attack for only 3 IPPs. So yes, you basically have 19 IPP to start. You start at peace with all nations in 1936, and you can do these things called Soviet-Japanese border clashes. And that's when you attack the Russians on the border, but you do not take the territory. And you can do that without going to war, so that's a thing you can do as the Japanese. I honestly don't recommend it, because it costs you land units, and you don't want to be a land power. You want to be a naval power fighting enemy navies. And then since you started peace with all nations in 1936, you have to invade China, which I highly recommend. With the invasion of China, you want to grab Shaanxi, Peking, Tianyan, Henan, Zhejiang, and Nanking, and then Communist China, and you'll have crushed the Chinese resistance. You don't have to clear out all of China, and you'll still get 1 IPP for the Burma Road. And remember, these territories here, they don't get income for it. Those are the semi-autonomous zones. So they once you do that, they'll only have 1 IPP in income, and they'll be basically neutered. So you can just focus on a land war against the naval war against the Americans. I cannot speak. They surrender once Tokyo is captured. Siam alliance with them in 1939, so it'll help you do the Calcutta Crush. And then they can sign this Japanese-Soviet Non-Aggression Pact, which basically means they don't attack the Soviets in the border clashes. So that's actually a useful pact to sign. I would recommend you sign it. They get wartime bonus income for basically securing some strategic territories. Not much income, only 4 for that. And then their victory objectives are really important. So they get 2 victory points for colonialism. Yay, colonialism. If their income is 50 IPP or more. So that is really easy to do if you can hold all your current Japanese territories, grab most of China, grab the Philippines, push on Calcutta, and then grab the Dutch East Indies. That's a really strategic thing there. Because I think you get like 14 income for the Dutch East Indies, so those are really useful. And then just grab some strategic islands worth some money. You'll be able to get up to 50 IPP. Pacific security is basically you have to have an island perimeter protecting yourself, like Midway and islands like that are strategic, around you, protecting you from the Americans. So that basically means you're holding all your Pacific holdings, or you have twice the capital ships as the Allies. So that basically means you just have to have Pacific security in terms of holding your island colonies. Asian security is basically you have to have twice as many forces on the Soviet border. And remember, that border can extend. If you take Mongolia, that becomes part of the border. So you just want, at the end of the game, ship a ton of units there so you can have double the amount of units, and that should be pretty easy to do. And then raw materials, basically you get 3 victory points, which is a lot, for controlling Java, Malay, Hanoi, Saigon, Philippines, Borneo, and Java. So those are all strategic resource territories, so just keep an eye out for grabbing those. Those should be pretty easy to take. And then just get those to get those three victory points. And then you can get 1 victory point per territory, so you only have to possess 3 of them to get your maximum of 3 victory points with that. And then moving on to the next page is the Japanese. They are fascists, so they can basically declare war on whoever they want at any time. The first turn they attack the Americans or Commonwealth, they get a surprise attack. Basically all their units and navy are better on attack, and all the enemy navy is better on defense. You really want to do that all at once. You want to attack the Americans, the Far East Command, the Dutch, the Anzac, all at once. Use that surprise strike, just crush them all at once on 1 turn. And then you get veteran infantry and fighters. Basically, every time you lose an infantry or fighter, you can roll a dice, and if you hit a 12, you can convert 1 infantry to a veteran infantry or fighter. That basically means they're just +1 on attack and defense, so those are good. Kamikaze basically means you can do kamikaze strikes when they get near the Japanese homeland, like historically accurate. Dug in defense, you can basically get more defense when you're defending the Japanese homeland, but if the Americans are attacking the Japanese homeland, you're probably already done, so that doesn't help that much. And you can buy 1 IPP militia at the end of the game if the Americans are going to attack Japan. And then you can use the destroyers to transport infantry, which is crazy useful, especially on that first turn where you have to grab all these really under-defended islands. That is very, very useful. And then Island Nation, your income can be blockaded if they take all of the sea zones around Japan, so you only get the income from Japan's homeland. So you want to keep a fleet up there so you don't get blockaded. So basically, Japanese units are the same as normal. They have to pay an extra $2 for medium armor, but that's okay. You're not a land power anyway. They can buy SNLF Marines, which are basically Marines that are +1 on attack and defense. Highly recommend those. Very, very good units, worth the price. And they can buy the Yamato class battleship. It takes 3 hits to destroy. You can buy it in 1939. You can only buy 1, but definitely worth it. Start getting that built. And then let's go on to the stages of building for the Japanese army. At first, you want to start building land units and a small amount of navy because you want to be able to crush China right away. You don't want to be fighting them for a long time. You want them to be neutered right away so you can just focus on other stuff. Because if you let them continue to build up, they're just going to get bigger and bigger and bigger and harass you and harass you and harass you. Then stage 3, you continue to build up your navy. You put down some transports, then get SNLF Marines to take all these islands. And then stage 2, this is when you go to war. You hit all those strategic islands with those SNLF Marines and transports, and then you just continue to build up your Navy and Air Force. And then the final stage, just use some tech units and continue to build up your Navy and Air Force. Because that's what it really comes down to. You grab all these strategic islands, you get a ton of income, get your victory points, and then you just have to hold. And you don't have enough land units to put them on every territory. For example, the Philippines. You don't have enough money to put 5 infantry there to protect it from an amphibious assault. What you can do, though, is get a navy big enough to crush any navy that comes in to try and take back those islands. You want to keep your fleet consolidated and just use it to crush the American fleet in a strategic blow. So that's kind of it for the Japanese papers right here. And then the setup chart is pretty good. They start with a massive navy and a pretty big army and air force. So their setup is pretty good, but not good enough to go to war right away. Now let's get into some overall Japanese strategy. So you're going to use coastal bombardments to take out the Chinese. And you, as I mentioned, you want to grab kind of this area of China right here, all the income areas, get communist China, get almost all of China's income collected up. So you just have China out of the game by a few rounds. And let's actually look at the timetable on this. You want to have China dealt with by July 1937. So in July 1941, you can attack the Commonwealth and the Americans, and also the Anzac, all the other powers included with that. And you want to strike them all at once, because you want to kill the American Navy right away, and then you want to continue your conquest of the Pacific, kind of like historically. You want to do a Pearl Harbor-like attack where you send a ton of Navy in, crush their fleet, and then since there's no threat, you can just kind of free roam in the Pacific and grab everything you want. So you use the coastal bombardments, as I said, to take out China. Then you build up your army and navy for the amphibious assaults on all these territories. And you also want to try and take Calcutta. So that's where your ground forces really come into play. When Siam aligns with you, you're just kind of going to send a bunch of troops there and just use that to push on Calcutta. You may not be able to take it, but you definitely want to put some stress there. So they're buying land units, not naval units, which will help you out. The Americans are going to have a bigger economy than you. So you're going to have to consolidate your fleet and try and crush them and build up your income by getting these strategic territories in the South Pacific. And also, your strategy for dealing with Anzac should be not to take them out or amphibiously assault them, but just to kind of surround them. Grab all these islands here, grab New Guinea, Ribble, and then just let Anzac kind of hide out. And then if they want to peek out their navy to attack yours, that's fine. You'll kill it instantly. You'll have a few small naval detachments around the Dutch East Indies to take them out, and that should be good. Now on to the final stage, technology. What technology you want to buy? And I recommend you get jet aircraft as the Japanese, because the jet aircraft allows you to have strategic aircraft that you can hit harder and attack out American ships and aircraft with. So that's really my strategy for Japan. Comment below if I made any mistakes. I probably did. Comment what you do as Japan. Are you more of a land-focused Japan? Do you invade the Soviet Union? Do you move all the way through China? What do you do? So just comment below. I love the interaction on these videos. And then, yeah, subscribe.